Okay, get this. What if we could actually watch a living, thinking mini brain, one grown from human cells, as it computes information in real time? Well, today, we're going to dive into a revolutionary technology called Jcircuits. And let me tell you, it's completely rewriting our entire understanding of the brain itself. For more than 100 years, this single phrase basically defined how science saw a supercritical part of our brain called the thalamus. It was seen as, little more than wiring, a simple pass-through. But as we're about to see, wow, that picture could not have been more wrong.
All right, so let's set the stage. We have to start with this old myth. For the longest time, the thalamus was just known as the brain's silent switchboard. And this whole story started way, way back with anatomical studies in the late 19th century.
So the old thinking went something like this. All the information from your senses, everything you see, hear, and touch, it arrives at the thalamus. And the thalamus just passes it along to the cortex, which is the brain's main command center. Basically, the thalamus was seen as a dumb terminal with absolutely no computational power of its own. But science marches on. Our tools got way more sophisticated, and suddenly little cracks started to appear in this nice, simple story. Modern neuroscience started picking up on signals that the thalamus wasn't so silent after all. In fact, it was active, it was dynamic, and it was way more complex than anyone had ever imagined. This slide really lays it all out, right? You see the huge shift in thinking. The old view, just a passive relay. But the new reality is all about active computation. The thalamus isn't just a switchboard. It's a super sophisticated dynamic gatekeeper. It does this thing called state-dependent gating, which basically means it actively decides which signals get through based on what the brain is doing right now. Like, are you asleep or are you wide awake and focused? This was a truly revolutionary idea. Which, of course, led to the next giant hurdle. We had all this indirect evidence that the thalamus was this powerful little computer, but you can't just open up a living human brain and watch it work. So we needed a whole new way to observe these computations directly. How in the world could we possibly do that? And this, my friends, is where science fiction becomes science fact. Enter Jcircuits. These are, and this is wild, living biocomputers grown from human stem cells, specifically designed to mimic the exact brain circuits we want to study. Now, creating and understanding these Jcircuits isn't just random chance. It's a really systematic process, built on 4 core pillars. First, you have architecture. That's getting the cells to build themselves into the right shape. Second is maturation, where they actually grow up and form working connections. Third, interrogation, which is a cool way of saying we listen in on their signals. And finally, mapping, figuring out what those signals actually mean.
Okay, the recipe for making one of these mini brains is just astounding. You start with human stem cells in a dish. Then scientists use chemical signals to guide them, telling them, hey, you're going to become thalamus cells. Then the real magic happens. They let the cells self-organize into a 3D structure, a little blob called an organoid. These are then put into a bioreactor, which is like a high-tech womb that feeds them and helps them mature and form connections just like they would in a real developing brain. We are literally growing thinking tissue in a lab.
All right, so we've built our mini brain. Now for the really cool part. How do we watch it think? Well, scientists plug these Jcircuits into these things called high-density microelectrode arrays. It's essentially like tapping into thousands of tiny neural phone calls all at once, so we can start to decode their secret language. Now, the raw data you get from thousands of neurons firing all at once is just overwhelmingly complex. It's pure chaos. To make any sense of it, scientists use this powerful computational tool called dimensionality reduction. The best way to think about it is like trying to find a single beautiful melody that's buried in the noise of a massive, chaotic orchestra. This technique lets them filter out all that noise and find the simple, meaningful patterns hidden inside. And when they found that melody, the results were just stunning. This is the big reveal, folks. The Jcircuits proved it directly. The thalamus is not a passive switchboard. Not even close. It is an active biocomputer. It creates its own patterns, it processes information, and it acts as a sophisticated gatekeeper, deciding what you actually get to perceive. Okay, this science is absolutely mind-blowing, for sure. But what does it actually mean for us, in the real world? Well, this breakthrough goes way beyond the lab. It has profound implications that could genuinely change millions of lives. The potential here is just enormous. So many devastating conditions. We're talking about things like chronic neuropathic pain, Parkinson's, even epilepsy. They all involve problems with the thalamus. With Jcircuits, we can now recreate the faulty wiring of these diseases in a dish. This is a total game changer. It lets us study them at the most fundamental level and test new drugs and therapies, like next-generation deep brain stimulation, in ways that were completely impossible before. So when you boil it all down, what this really means is a fundamental shift in what's possible. Jcircuits give us our very first direct, real-time window into the computations of the human brain. We're not just looking at static, dead slices of tissue anymore. We're not just guessing based on animal models. We are watching human brain circuits think. And that leaves us with this final, really profound question. This technology is bridging the gap between the cells inside our skulls and the very nature of consciousness, of perception, of thought itself. So if we can now build and observe a living computer that thinks, what is it going to teach us about the nature of our own minds?